You are staring at your screen. The pull request is merged, the deployment is successful, and the servers are finally quiet after hours of elevated tension. You should feel relieved. Why is your chest still tight? You open another file. You scan the lines. You know the feature works perfectly in production, but your mind is already searching for edge cases that will probably never happen. You cannot stop looking for the flaw. When did completion become a trigger for anxiety? You close the laptop. The room is dark. Your mind continues to render the architecture of tomorrow's problems, endlessly compiling scenarios in a loop that drains your physical energy. You feel a low hum of panic. Why is silence so terrifying to you? This feeling is not an accident. It is a trained response. You have spent years rewiring your neural pathways to view the world not as a place to live, but as a system to be optimized. You see inefficiency everywhere. How long have you treated your own life as technical debt? In the beginning, building things felt like magic. You solved a puzzle. The code executed cleanly. The system responded exactly as commanded, and you felt a sudden, bright rush of dopamine. You felt powerful. Do you remember what it was like to just be proud of something? But the landscape shifted. The projects grew larger. You were introduced to the endless treadmill of continuous integration and continuous deployment, where software is never actually finished, only abandoned for the next sprint. The finish line was erased. Why do you keep running when there is nowhere to arrive? Think about how you work now. You build a feature. Before it is even deployed, the backlog is already populated with iterations, refactors, and optimization tickets that guarantee you will never truly walk away. Perfection is perpetually deferred. How can you celebrate a victory that is instantly categorized as legacy code? This is the psychological trap of the modern engineering ecosystem. You are paid to anticipate failure. You spend 40 hours a week looking for vulnerabilities, race conditions, memory leaks, and systemic fragilities that threaten to bring the whole structure down. Your brain adapts to this environment. What happens when you bring that hypervigilance home? You start auditing your reality. You look at your hobbies. You realize you no longer do things just for the joy of doing them, but instead, you research the optimal equipment, the fastest learning path, and the most efficient methodology. You turn leisure into a project. Why are you trying to benchmark your relaxation? You look at your relationships. You analyze conversations. You review past arguments like incident postmortems, trying to isolate the root cause and implement preventative measures to ensure the emotional friction never happens again. You treat human beings like predictable state machines. Why are you so afraid of uncontrollable variables? The mind of an engineer is a beautiful, terrifying machine. It dissects complexity. It takes massive, overwhelming problems and breaks them down into atomic, solvable units until the universe makes logical sense. But life is not logical. How do you debug an emotion? You try to apply logic to exhaustion. You feel burned out. Instead of resting, you research sleep hygiene, track your REM cycles with wearable tech, and try to hack your circadian rhythm to maximize your restorative output. You are optimizing your recovery. Why is it so hard to simply do nothing? Because doing nothing feels like a failure of imagination. It feels like stagnation. In the tech world, if a system is not actively being updated, patched, or refactored, it is considered dead or decaying. You have internalized this paradigm. Are you afraid that if you stop improving, you will become obsolete? Let us look at the concept of technical debt. It is a useful metaphor. It describes the eventual cost of choosing a fast, easy solution now instead of using a better approach that would take longer. You hate technical debt in your codebase. But look at the debt you are accumulating in your mind. You ignore your physical fatigue. You suppress your loneliness. You push aside the growing sense of existential emptiness because dealing with those feelings would disrupt your velocity and lower your throughput. You are borrowing against your own sanity. When do you think the system will crash? You convince yourself that the next project will be different. You start fresh. You tell yourself that this time the architecture will be clean, the documentation will be thorough, and you will finally achieve the mythical state of a perfect, finished product. It never happens. Why do you still believe the illusion of the blank slate? The truth is, perfectionism is not about high standards. It is about control. It is a defense mechanism designed to protect you from the vulnerability of releasing something flawed into a world that is inherently chaotic and critical. If it is never finished, it cannot be judged. Are you optimizing, or are you just hiding? Look at the tools you use. They enforce this mindset. Jira boards, Kanban columns, burn-down charts, and productivity trackers all quantify your existence into a series of incomplete tasks demanding your attention. Your worth is measured in closed tickets. Who are you when the board is empty? You do not know. That is the terrifying part. Without a problem to solve, without a bug to fix, without a system to architect, you are forced to sit alone with your own thoughts and face the silence. The silence is deafening. What are you trying so hard not to hear? Maybe you are trying to ignore the loneliness. You work remotely. You spend most of your waking hours communicating through text interfaces, pull request comments, and asynchronous updates with people you rarely see. You are highly connected, but completely isolated. When was the last time you felt truly understood by another human being? You try to articulate this feeling to non-technical friends. They do not get it. They tell you to just take a vacation, unplug for a weekend, and relax, not understanding that your brain is no longer capable of going offline. The background processes are always running. How do you explain that your mind has become a distributed system under heavy load? There is a profound grief in this realization. You have gained so much. You have acquired skills that allow you to build digital worlds, automate tedious realities, and command machines to do your bidding with a few keystrokes. But you have lost the ability to simply exist. Was the trade worth it? You think about quitting. You fantasize about it. You imagine buying a piece of land, working with your hands, building things out of wood and stone that have a physical presence and a clear, defined endpoint. You want to build something that stays built. Why does the digital world feel so heavy when it weighs nothing at all? Because digital things are fragile. They require constant maintenance. A physical table will stand for 100 years with no intervention, but a software application will rot in 6 months if left unattended in a shifting ecosystem. You are the caretaker of an invisible, decaying world. How much of your energy is spent just keeping things from falling apart? This is the hidden cost of the tech industry. It is not just the hours. It is the fundamental restructuring of how you perceive reality, shifting your default state from passive observation to active, relentless troubleshooting. You are always debugging. When will you realize that you are not a machine? You are a biological organism. You require rest. You require periods of inefficiency, unstructured time, and moments of quiet where nothing is being produced, measured, or optimized for future gains. Your value is not tied to your utility. Can you allow yourself to just be useless for a while? It starts with accepting imperfection. It starts with closing the laptop. It means writing a piece of code, acknowledging that it could be better, and choosing to walk away, because your mental health is more important than a microscopic performance gain. It means letting the edge cases go. Are you brave enough to leave it broken? The next time you finish a task, notice the urge to tweak it. Pause in that space. Feel the anxiety rising in your chest, the desperate need to exert control over the outcome, and consciously choose to do nothing at all. Let it be done. Let it be flawed. Because the ultimate truth is that nothing is ever truly finished. The world keeps moving. The technologies will change, the code bases will be rewritten, and everything you have built will eventually be erased by time and progress. You cannot build a permanent legacy in a temporary medium. Why sacrifice your present peace for a future that will replace you anyway? You must learn to find satisfaction in the transient. You must enjoy the process. You must reclaim your identity from the systems you maintain and remember that you are the creator, not a component within the architecture itself. You are separate from the machine. Do you remember how to breathe without analyzing the oxygen intake? The journey back to yourself will not be easy. The programming runs deep. You will constantly find yourself slipping back into the optimization loop, treating your personal growth as just another metric to be tracked and improved. Be gentle with your own mind. How long will it take to unlearn a decade of conditioning? There is no quick fix. There is no patch. There is only the slow, deliberate practice of returning to the present moment over and over until the urge to optimize begins to lose its grip on your soul. You have to practice being finished. You have to practice being enough. You are staring at your screen. The pull request is merged. The deployment is successful, and the servers are finally quiet after hours of elevated tension. You let out a long breath. Your chest is loose. You do not open another file. You do not scan the lines. You know the feature works perfectly in production, and you accept that the edge cases will have to wait for another day, or perhaps forever. You stop looking for the flaw. When did completion become a trigger for peace? You close the laptop. The room is dark. Your mind stops rendering the architecture of tomorrow's problems, finally breaking the loop and allowing the physical exhaustion to wash over you naturally. You feel a low hum of relief. Why is silence so beautiful to you?